Rev. George Lee, one of the first colorful black person to be registered to vote in Humphreys County. He used his pulpit and his printing press to urge others to vote. The authorities offered Lee protection on the condition he end his voter registration efforts and removed his name from the voter register. Lee refused and was murdered in Belzoni, Mississippi on May 7, 1955. The sheriff attempted a cover-up, ruling it a traffic accident, and closed the case. William Lewis Moore, a postal worker from Baltimore, was shot and killed in Alabama on April 23, 1963. He was embarking on a one-person march for racial justice. Moore started his march in Chattanooga, Tennessee. He intended to walk to Jackson, Mississippi, approximately 400 miles. His purpose for walking to the Miss Capital was to protest racism. On September 15, 1963, 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama was bombed, killing 4 young African-American girls. Addie Mae Collins, 14 years, Cynthia Wesley, 14, Carol Robertson, 14, and Carol Denise McNair, 11. This tragic, racially motivated act was carried out by members of the Ku Klux Klan, KKK. The bomb exploded before Sunday morning services, killing 4 girls and injuring 22 other people. Bruce W. Clunder was an American Presbyterian minister and civil rights activist. He died when he was run over by a bulldozer while protesting the building of a segregated school on April 7, 1964, at Cleveland, Ohio. On June 21, 1964, James Chaney, Andrew Goodman, and Michael Schwerner were murdered by members of the Ku Klux Klan and local law enforcement. They were then buried to conceal the atrocity. Their slaughtering marked a turning point in the collaboration between authorities and the Ku Klux Klan. The Klan were armed by authorities and used as assassination tools. The record shows authorities arresting the right workers and delivering them to the Klan to be killed. February 26, 1965, at Marion, Alabama. Jimmy Lee Jackson was beaten and shot by state troopers as he tried to protect his grandfather and mother from a trooper attack on civil rights marchers. His death led to the Selma Montgomery March and the eventual passage of the Voting Rights Act 1965. I cannot forget the assassination of the heroic martyr Jonathan Marrick Daniels, an Episcopal Seminary student in Boston, was executed by Tom L. Coleman for preventing him from shooting a teenager on August 20, 1965. Jonathan had come to Alabama to help with black voter registration in Lowndes County. He was arrested at a demonstration, jailed in Hayneville, and then suddenly released. Moments after his release, he was shot to death by a deputy sheriff who was acquitted of all charges and freed. In Hattiesburg, Mississippi, there was a man with golden heart, Vernon Ferdinand Dahmer, a wealthy businessman, offered to pay poll taxes for those who couldn't afford the fee. He wanted to help the poor masses to get voting right. One of the requirements was a proof of the ability to pay poll taxes. The night after a radio station broadcasted Dahmer's offer, on January 10, 1966, his home was firebombed. He sustained severe burns, leading to his death. Few people still remember the Orangeburg Massacre on February 8, 1968, where 9 highway patrolmen and 1 city police officer opened fire on a crowd of African-American students, demonstrations at the South Carolina State College campus. They spilled the blood of Samuel Ephesians Hammond Jr., Delano Herman Middleton, and Henry Ezekiel Smith, while 28 others were injured. The shootings were the culmination of a series of protests against racial segregation at a local bowling alley. The perpetrators were declared not guilty and were vindicated by the court. Approximately 2 months later, April 4, 1968, at Memphis, Tennessee, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a Baptist minister, who was a major architect of the civil rights movement, who led and inspired major nonviolent desegregation campaigns, including those in Montgomery and Birmingham, was assassinated. The family accused the FBI and Justice Department for the murder. The government had wiretapped and surveyed King and his fellow civil rights leaders because they were seen as a threat to the stability of the government and its racist institutions. There have been several other assassinations in the history of the United States. But the source is the devil who used vulnerable minds such as the white supremacists, the Ku Klux Klan, and racist officials to segregate and shed blood. You are of your father the devil, and your will is to do your father's desires. He was a murderer from the beginning, and does not stand in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks out of his own character, for he is a liar and the father of lies. John 8:44. Kindly encourage me by liking and subscribing, and please, don't forget to visit Theoscience on Substack.